or maybe at the telephone solicitor, bill collector, nurse or doctor who won't return our calls, or perhaps even the person in another pew. Do not let the sun go down in your anger. This business, though, of dealing with anger, of being forgiving and kind and tender-hearted, is a lot harder to pull off than it is to talk about. And I know, because I went to bed with my own anger just the other night. I know it is hard to practice this all the time, but that is exactly what we are called to do. We are called to be imitators of God. And as my lectionary friend says, what? Imitators of God? That is impossible. We cannot be imitators of God. And yet that is exactly what we are called to try to do. And on top of it all, as if this is not enough, we cause God to grieve when we do not. At the core of these instructions to the Ephesians and to us is to move us out of our own self-centeredness and our own self-concern into a position of responding to the needs of the community. It sounds audacious that the writer of Ephesians would tell thieves to stop stealing, not because he wanted them to stop breaking the law, but because they might then be able to secure work and help the needy. This should not surprise us as Christians, though, since we are told in the Great Commandment that we are to love God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbors as ourselves. We, none of us, should feel comfortable, for instance, with our healthcare system, the way it is, when so many people are going without. Are we not the thieves who are stealing from the needy when we have health care and they do not? Some of you might be thinking that I should not be talking about politics in the pulpit. Well, I'm not talking about politics here. I'm talking about serving the needs of the least of these. Health care reform is not a political issue. It is a humanitarian crisis right here in the United States. Yesterday I was talking on the phone with my oldest son, Christopher, about this health care reform, and he thought that many of the people who were protesting against this were protesting because they were afraid. And I think that is partly true. People are concerned that there will not be enough doctors and nurses to serve those who are currently do not have health care, and that there will be a flood of people rushing to get their basic medical services, and so those of us who have health care will have to wait. People are worried that the health care that they have now might be undermined or altered. People are fearful of the possible debt that may be incurred as we change our current health care system. It is an understandable fear. It is understandable anger, and it is understandable concern. But when one of the people of God suffers from the lack of health care, we all suffer. When an infant dies because a mother couldn't afford prenatal care, God grieves. When a person dies under a bridge from lack of a place to live or untreated diabetes, God grieves. When God is grieving, we are called to respond with compassion for our neighbors. When God is grieving, we are called to let our anger go before the sun goes down. When God is grieving, we are called to be kind to one another, forgiving one another, showing as best we can how God would respond to the needy ones in our world. My mom has had the benefits of having health care her whole life long. My hope is that many more Americans, like our family did this past week, will be able to enjoy enjoy and celebrate their parents' longevity, regardless of their income or their social status. I hope that we will, all of us, as a community of faith and as concerned citizens, will be able to come together as imitators of God, bearing the good news of the kingdom to come, healing those who are sick, lifting up the brokenhearted, giving sacrificially so that others might share in the goodness of the creation, and bearing witness to the one who sacrificed his whole self so that we too, all of us, may be given new life. And I hope and I pray that one day all God's children will receive the same medical care rights as we, with medical care benefits, now enjoy. Now that would certainly be a day in which God would not grieve.